Russia says it will observe a 2-day ceasefire in Ukraine later this week to mark its annual World War II Victory Day celebrations. This year's parade will be significantly pared back with no military hardware on display. The Kremlin says that's because Moscow is facing a, quote, terrorist threat from Kyiv. President Zelensky announced Ukraine will begin its own ceasefire starting Wednesday, saying he believes human life is far more valuable than any anniversary celebration. Went on to say that Russia needs to enact a permanent peace, especially since Moscow believes it can't hold a parade without Ukraine's goodwill.
Производство восстанавливается сельское хозяйство, поэтому это результат.
Ну а сейчас срочное сообщение от Минобороны России. В соответствии с решением Верховного Главнокомандующего Вооруженными силами Российской Федерации 8 и 9 мая 2026 года объявляется перемирие в честь празднования победы советского народа в Великой Отечественной войне. Я цитирую далее. «Рассчитываем, что украинская сторона последует этому примеру». Вместе с тем обратили внимание на заявление, сделанное главой киевского режима в Ереване на саммите Европейского политического сообщества, в котором содержатся угрозы нанесения удара по Москве именно 9 мая. Вооруженными силами Российской Федерации будут предприняты все необходимые меры для обеспечения безопасности праздничных мероприятий. В случае попыток киевского режима реализовать свои преступные планы с целью срыва празднования 81-й годовщины Победы, вооруженные силы Российской Федерации нанесут ответный массированный удар по центру Киева. Россия, несмотря на имеющиеся у нас возможности по гуманитарным соображениям, от таких действий ранее воздерживалась. Предупреждаем гражданское население Киева и сотрудников иностранных дипломатических представительств о необходимости своевременно покинуть город. Это были цитаты российского Минобороны.
It is a rare, pointed insight into one of the starkest secrets in Russia, President Vladimir Putin's security protocols. And a detailed intelligence report given to CNN by a source close to a European intelligence agency, portrays, predictably, a Kremlin in deep crisis. Cooks, bodyguards and photographers working with Putin must have surveillance systems installed in their homes, it says. Putin has stopped visiting military sites this year entirely, it says, in contrast to last year, often spending time in fortified bunkers and keeping clear of some of his main lavish residences like Valdai. A tactic aided by many of his appearances, and he is in the media a lot, being pre-recorded. His staff cannot use smartphones or public transport, the report adds. Visitors must be searched twice.
Not all of this information is new, some of it rumoured or evident before, but the massive detail is striking, as is the decision by a European intelligence agency to release a report like this. Clearly an information salvo designed to stoke strife and paranoia at a time of perceived weakness in the Kremlin.
The dossier also suggests something staggering, that the measures may be designed to protect Putin from a potential coup, something he had a narrow miss with in June 2023, when mercenary boss and former chef to Putin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, led a failed march on Moscow. The risk of a coup, it says now, is from another former confidant, Sergei Shoigu, once his Minister of Defense but now Secretary of the Security Council. he retains significant influence within the military high command, it says. The report says a coup is more likely after Shoigu's former deputy and close associate, Ruslan Salikov, was arrested in March, which it calls, quote, a breach of the tacit protection agreements among elites. But the report doesn't provide any evidence or explain why it has made this risk public, warning the Kremlin. It claims the new security measures came after a series of assassinations among the Russian top brass, likely by Ukraine, at an urgent meeting last year after the killing of Lieutenant General Fanil Savarov in Moscow on December the 22nd. The release of the report has convenient timing, 4 years into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, at a time when doubts about Russia's ability to sustain its war effort and its economic impact are growing. Of major internet blackouts, growing internal criticism of Putin himself, and continued successful Ukrainian bombardment of targets deep inside Russia. Especially ahead of the May the 9th Victory Day parade, scaled back dramatically this year for security, there are plenty of reasons European intelligence would seek to destabilise the Kremlin. And much of this is hard to corroborate. But it is rare detail and a confident presentation of a Kremlin in crisis that matches a moment of peaking criticism of Putin internally.
Anderson, the Kremlin have not responded to our request for comment, but this is part of a growing climate, I think, of anxiety, really, not just around the conduct of Russia in its invasion of Ukraine, where they have asked for a ceasefire on Victory Day, 8th and 9th of May, and Ukraine has countered by offering one for longer, starting earlier, but also because around that particular parade, we learned today that they will potentially be putting in internet restrictions on mobile phones. One of many occasions this has happened. It's a real sign, I think, that things are increasingly precarious for the Kremlin, Anderson.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主。我的最爱，我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。